Okay, hi everyone. This is SmithyQ, SmithyQ.com, and we're going to take a look at a fancy attack I was able to pull off in the Najdorf. Uh, this is just kind of a humble brag, right? Hey, look at the amazing game I play. That said, what's interesting about this game is I play almost the entire bit on general principles. I don't really calculate. You know, he goes there, I go there, he goes there. I play the most aggressive looking moves, and it kind of works. In fact, the only time I try to calculate, I actually get it wrong, and I should have lost the game. So I don't know what that tells you. Spoiler alert also is that I was at the dentist earlier today, and we had some dental surgery, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm still feeling the effects of that. You can see that in the game, partly why I'm not calculating. Uh, and then I think I lost all the other games I tried to play today. But this one worked. So let's put this one down in immortality. So the opening is the Najdorf. And here we go. I end up playing the bishop c4 line, Fischer's old favorite, and then we drop the bishop immediately back to b3. He's going to play b5 regardless anyway, then I castle. And now there's actually there's an implied pawn sacrifice in this line, because if my opponent were to play b4 here, now he has to move somewhere, he can take the pawn. The problem is, after rook e1, he has one piece developed versus pretty much white's entire army, and white is primed to sacrifice right back here on e6, or we could open more lines, you know, with c3, opening the c file, and it's very difficult for black to hold this. In fact, white, the computer thinks white's already got a sizable advantage, even though we're down a pawn. And that makes perfect sense, right? Black isn't developed, and he's trying to grab pawns in the opening with his king very far away from castling. Another line would be for him to play bishop b7. And this is a very common way for black players to play the Sicilian. It's one of the main draws, in fact. When I was learning the Sicilian, it was with this type of idea. Because it makes, you know, look at this, we got the knight attacking, the bishop's attacking it, and the only defender is about to be attacked, pushed away. We're going to win the pawn. If white is forced to play something ugly like f3, well, then he's not playing f4 and trying to mate us, and we can slowly build up, and black is perfectly fine. This is my favorite way of playing the Sicilian back in the day. The thing is that, again, white can offer a sacrifice, because if black tries to take it, again, he's wasting a lot of time. And in this particular position, it's known that knight d5, take, is just, it's pretty much winning for white. At this point, I believe there's an old Fischer game where Fischer just demolishes people. I mean, Fischer always demolished people, right? But we can see the power of this. Is black has two pieces developed, but his king is in the center, and white is going to finish development, open things up. It's going to be lucky if black can castle, and it's just he's going to be in for a world of hurt. And something very similar happens in the game. After bishop e7, I end up going queen f3, maybe playing e5 to hit the rook, but he plays bishop b7. Now here I actually missed my chance because I'm not thinking properly. The thematic sacrifice here would be take, knight takes e6, queen moves somewhere. Let's go here. Take, and now the knight can come to f5, and we've got pawns for the piece. Look, the queen's already facing. You've got knight d5 coming. If the knight moves, we've got queen h5, or the knight can move somewhere with the pin. We've got bishop. Everything is just coming. We can play e5 and move the rook over. White has full compensation if he's not already just winning. But I don't play that because I want to play a different... I end up playing queen g3, daring him to castle into bishop h6, right? Very common idea. Maybe I'll just win the pawn. Why not? We do a little dance here. He attacks. I move up. He plays a really ugly move, g6. I stop him from castling. He hits me. I go back. And so that really just sets up this position. And the question is, can black win a pawn? He tries it. b4. And again, this is the main idea that many black players have, and it's really the only idea they have in the Sicilian. Some black players, at least. And again, even just a few years ago, this is what I would have done. The problem is that there's knight d5. Again, just like the previous variation. And as a general rule, if white can get this move in, and he doesn't lose, like it's not, there's no immediate refutation, then white is generally better. And that's what happens here. Take, take. And we can see exactly. This is a souped-up version of some of the other lines, because this bishop has a huge hole, and black can never castle safely. Even if black does castle, the weaknesses over here would likely be fatal for him, which means his king is stuck there. And so as long as the queens are on the board, the queens and the rooks, he's going to be in trouble. Black then goes whole hog and just takes this pawn as well. And even, again, I talked about how I'm not really calculating here. I didn't calculate knight d5. I just said this has to be good. Then he takes the pawn. Okay, that's great. What next? Well, I'm just going to put my rooks in the open file. Let's go. And without that pawn there, now my bishop has the x-ray onto f7, and that could be extremely dangerous. I play rook e1. Now, something interesting is going to happen here. My opponent ends up playing f6, I move my rook, then he moves this knight out of the way. Those probably aren't the two best moves in the position. At the same time, if you look at this, if we just look, my opponent has 2 minutes on the clock, also to my 2 minutes. All of a sudden, over these two moves, he has 1 minute left, and I still have my 2 minutes. And this is the real power of, black is the one who has to find the moves here. If he doesn't, he loses instantly. And if he does find the moves, he's probably going to lose on time. And the less time he has, the less likely he's going to find these moves. And so I'm playing with very little risk here. It also helps that my sacrifice is objectively sound, right? But, this style of playing works extremely well in Blitz. So I move the rook over, so that way it's going to be harder for him to castle. He plays f6. It's hard to say what he's thinking here. Maybe he wants to, move the king somewhere, but that just puts the bishop there. So I think f6 is just one of those moves where you think too long and then you're in trouble. I move the rook over, he plays this. I then jump in with the knight. And so we can see here, at this point, I'm fully developed, everything's a go, now I just need to invade. I play knight e6 and then knight g7, forcing the king, so that way he can never castle, right? And his king and queen are on the file of the rook. This is clearly pretty good. That said, more accurate, and it really seems obvious after the fact, would have been queen e6. We're threatening invasion here. So already something like this, whoops, that's mate, not very good. If you were to try, say, knight c6, well, that could lead to an alliance something like this. Take, take, and then we got rook d6. And everything is just toast for him, right? The bishop is pinned. He can't take with the queen because the rook is still pinning. We're threatening to, win all the pieces here on the third rank. Queen f7 is mate, and that's just terrible. And there's nothing here. So queen e6 would have won even faster, and that could have made a shorter video. Instead, knight e6. He moves the queen. I check him, then I come in with the bishop. So you can see that aesthetically, I actually really, really like this, because first I developed all my pieces, then I'm moving my minor pieces really, really close, and then my next idea would be move my queens and the rooks in. So this here is the, again, based on general principles. Minor pieces first, then major pieces. So... not really calculating here. But, again, it's working out. The problem with this is that he had bishop b5, let me just put that on the board, in this position, offer an exchange of queens. After my queen moves, he can develop a knight, and then maybe his king, can come to a7. Maybe. I mean, white's still doing really well here, but it's not as clean as it could have been. This is why, again, coming in with the queen first made a lot of sense. Anyway, he doesn't play that, so then I play bishop f7. And again, I'm just moving my pieces forward. And the idea here is I want to play knight e6, forking the king and queen, always great. But also I could play bishop to g7, and then his rook would actually be trapped on the back rank. Okay, I'm trying to go for mate, yes, but if I can win back my material, that's pretty good too. He ends up moving the queen. I check him. He moves. Knight c5. Using a little bit of tactics. Again, I'm not really calculating. This is just a one mover. Is that the rook is pinned? I'm going to win on e7. I'm going to take his bishop next, right? So he goes here. Take, take, take. So things are perfect. Let's go one more move. So things are perfect. I'm not even down material at this point. I'm just absolutely going to crush him. And funnily enough, it's in this position where I actually calculate something. I'm thinking, hey, I'm pretty sure this move wins on the spot. Look at this. Tactics, pinning him. If he takes, I take back. Then if he takes, I take. Oh, and it's just absolutely amazing. This happened in the game. Unfortunately, this counterattack would have saved black and spoiled my victory. Whoops. If my queen moves off the file, I lose the game to the back rank mate. And I don't actually win both rooks because this rook is hanging. And again, he's threatening the back rank mate, and then I'm just toast. So the only time I actually tried to calculate something, I ended up blowing it. Should have just done general principles. Because the most obvious move in this position, rook take, with pretty much the same idea, right? Maybe I take on d7, I'm threatening the queen, maybe, you know, take this guy and then take, my bishop is still controlling e8, so there's no counterattacks on my queen. Bishop g7 takes f6, still might be a threat. Easiest move on the board, and I didn't see that at all. Funny. Anyway, it worked out, and now his king is just running for dear life. There's not a heck of a lot it can go. I don't do this in the super smoothest way. But in this position, there's no defense against b3, checkmate. And there we go. So not bad. So the real purpose of this isn't so, okay, I'm humble bragging. Yay, I played a really nice game. Woohoo. And I guess I'm bragging that I don't calculate very well. But I'm still off on dental medication. And also, the main takeaway is don't play chess when you have, you know, when you're suffering post-surgery. But it's this idea with the knight d5. Because, again, it's relatively recently that I learned about this idea. And certainly it's recently that I've been trying to apply it in my games. It's one of those things that you kind of know, but you never really do. If black is putting all of his strategy on using his pawns to keep your pieces away, while he's trying to pressure your central pawn, then it makes a heck of a lot of sense, you know, well, to sacrifice. Because this completely changes the nature of the position. His pawns aren't protecting him anymore. The position is now wide open. Now development matters. If we back up, right, in this particular position, right, or positions, actually, let me back up even further. You know, into variations like this, near the beginning, where black's pawns are controlling everything, right? There's no easy way for white to go forward. When black then tries to win the pawn, we can change the nature of the position. We're offering the sacrifice, yeah, but now the pawns aren't there. Now there's a lot of room for the pieces. And again, if we were to exchange this pawn here with a3 or c3, again, that's going to open the a or the c file for us as well. And black's lack of development now really, really hurts. You know, again, we back up here. Okay, black has two pieces developed to r4, but there's no real way to take advantage of it right away. It's when he lets this happen, we're able to, again, change the nature of the position. And something similar would happen if you were to play bishop e7 here. This is a well-known trap, is that, again, we can now sacrifice on e6. You know, queen moves somewhere. I think I moved it over here, right? Take, boom. Right? And again, in this position, we've barely sacrificed anything, right? We've got pawns for the piece. The position is wide open. We have all these attacking lines. Now white's development really matters. Whereas before, be back up, we don't. And if white doesn't sacrifice here, after bishop e7, if we don't get the sacrifice going, and black is able to castle and catch up in development, then white's advantage is lost. And this is the real challenge of the Sicilian, is how far can black take it, right? White needs to really prove an advantage. Often it's through sacrificing, right? If you don't calculate correctly, you lose. Sometimes you can calculate right and still lose anyway. I think these games show, but that's it. And it's important to know when to change the nature, when it's okay to do normal moves, right? And even again, if we were to back up after b4 here, it's been 10 moves. Black has 2 pieces developed, and he's moved nothing but pawns, right? It makes sense in these types of positions to think about not the normal moves. A normal move is something like knight a4, or I guess that's probably the only normal move, right? But then we're losing pawns, and black's going to consolidate, and so we change the nature of the position. Knight d5 isn't always going to work, but it's something we should be thinking about, especially the more black falls behind development in this and in similar positions. So hopefully you found that useful. If that was helpful, I'm going to be recovering tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be back to normal, and I can, eat more than just soup. We'll find out. So like, subscribe if you want. That's great. Otherwise, SmithyQ, SmithyQ.com. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.